The glow of Jupiter painted Europa's icy surface in shades of amber and gold as Commander Maya Patel trudged through the perpetual twilight. Her boots crunched against the frozen ground with each step, the sound barely audible through her suit's audio sensors. The impact site lay ahead, a dark gash in the otherwise pristine white landscape. "Base, this is Commander Patel. I'm approaching the anomaly," she reported, her breath slightly fogging her helmet's visor. "Initial readings suggest localized thermal activity. Nothing like our usual meteor strikes." The response from base crackled through her comm. "Copy that, Commander. Maintain safe distance protocol." Maya almost smiled at that. After 3 years stationed on Europa, she knew the protocols better than anyone. But something about this crash felt different. The energy signatures were unlike anything their instruments had recorded before. As she crested the ridge overlooking the impact site, she stopped dead in her tracks. The crater wasn't just a crater, it was glowing. Pulses of soft blue light emanated from within, casting eerie shadows across the surrounding ice. Maya's suit sensors immediately began cataloging the radiation levels, but they registered nothing dangerous, just an unusual electromagnetic field. "Base, are you seeing this?" She activated her suit's external cameras, broadcasting the scene back to the research station. Static answered her. The electromagnetic interference must be stronger than she thought. Maya checked her oxygen levels, still 4 hours remaining. Plenty of time to investigate and return to base, even without constant communication. She began her descent into the crater, careful to test each step. The ice here was different, almost crystalline in structure, refracting the mysterious blue light in countless directions. At the center, partially embedded in the surface, lay something that defied explanation. It was roughly the size of a large dog, its form seemingly composed of translucent crystal that pulsed with internal light. As Maya approached, she could make out what appeared to be limbs, delicate and graceful, now cracked and damaged from the impact. The creature, for it was clearly alive, trembled slightly, its light dimming and brightening in an erratic pattern. Maya's scientific training warred with her instincts. Protocol dictated she should wait for a full containment team. But the creature's movements, its flickering light, spoke of pain and fear in a language that transcended species. "Hey there," she whispered, knowing the creature couldn't hear her through the vacuum, but hoping her body language conveyed peace. "I'm not going to hurt you." The creature's light dimmed further, and it tried to retreat, only to shudder in obvious pain. Maya noticed more cracks spreading across its crystalline surface. Without intervention, it would shatter in Europa's extreme cold. Making a decision that would change both their lives forever, Maya reached for the emergency thermal blanket in her suit's utility pack. She approached slowly, broadcasting her intentions through deliberate, gentle movements. The creature's light pulsed rapidly, fear, perhaps, or warning, but it was too weak to flee. As Maya carefully wrapped the thermal blanket around the creature's fragile form, she felt a slight vibration through her gloves. The creature's light pattern changed, becoming steadier, more rhythmic. The vibration continued, reminding her of a cat's paw, though no sound could travel through Europa's airless surface. "Base, if you can hear me," Maya transmitted, knowing she was probably still cut off. "I'm bringing back a survivor. Prep the xenobiology lab." She paused, looking down at the wounded being. "And maybe prep for a court-martial too." The creature's weight surprised her. It was lighter than it looked, despite its crystalline appearance. As she lifted it, cradling it carefully against her suit's chest plate, she felt the vibration intensify. The blue light pulsed once, strongly, and Maya gasped as a wave of emotion washed over her: gratitude, relief, and an overwhelming sense of loneliness that brought tears to her eyes. More than 300 million miles from Earth, in the harsh twilight of a Jovian moon, Maya Patel held a being unlike any humanity had ever encountered. And as they began the trek back to the research station, she realized that her life's work, her search for extraordinary discoveries, had led her to something far more precious and scientific achievement. The creature's light synchronized with her heartbeat, creating a dance of blue and gold against the ice as they walked. Maya didn't yet know that this moment would spark a chain of events that would challenge everything humanity thought they knew about life in the solar system. She only knew that, for the first time since arriving on Europa, she no longer felt alone. "Let's get you somewhere safe," she murmured, carefully picking her way across the frozen terrain. The creature's light pulsed softly in response, a wordless communication that needed no translation. Above them, Jupiter watched in silence, its great red spot like an unblinking eye, witnessing the first moments of an impossible friendship. The airlock cycled with agonizing slowness as Maya held her breath, the crystalline being still cradled against her chest. The creature's light had dimmed to a faint pulse, barely visible through the thermal blanket. Each flash grew weaker, like a fading heartbeat. Come on," Maya muttered, watching the pressure gauge climb. When the inner door finally slid open, she was met by the station's chief medical officer, Dr. Victor Santos, his dark eyes wide with disbelief. "Maya, what in God's name?" He stopped mid-sentence as the creature's light flickered, casting strange shadows across his face. "Help now, questions later," Maya ordered, already moving toward the medical bay. "It's dying, Vic." The medical bay, designed for human patients, seemed woefully inadequate for their alien visitor. Maya gently placed the creature on the examination table, keeping the thermal blanket wrapped around its fragile form. Under the harsh laboratory lights, she could see the extent of the damage. Fractures spider-webbed across its crystalline surface, some deep enough to threaten its structural integrity. "Incredible," Victor breathed, running a scanner over the being. "The internal structure, it's like nothing we've ever seen. Some kind of silicon-based life form, but the complexity," he shook his head. "Maya, this could rewrite everything we know about." "Can you help it?" Maya interrupted, her hand resting protectively near the creature. Victor's expression sobered. "I don't know. Our medical protocols weren't designed for." The creature suddenly pulsed brightly, and both humans stumbled back as geometric patterns of light danced across the walls. Maya felt that same wave of emotion she'd experienced on the surface, but this time it carried information, images, sensations, knowledge. "It's trying to communicate," she gasped. It needs heat, not just warmth, concentrated heat, like a forge." Victor stared at her. "How could you possibly know that?" "I just do." Maya was already moving to the laboratory's thermal processing unit, normally used for studying ice core samples. "Help me with this." Working together, they modified the unit, creating a makeshift healing chamber. The creature's light brightened as Maya lifted it inside, the patterns of its pulses becoming more regular. Through their strange connection, Maya felt its pain ease. "Remarkable," Victor murmured, watching the creature's fractures begin to seal themselves in the intense heat. "The regenerative capabilities alone. Maya, do you realize what this means? The papers we could publish, the advancements in medical science." "No," Maya's voice was firm. "No papers, no publications. Not yet. But the protocols. The protocols would have let it die out there." Maya watched as the creature's light shifted through shades of blue and violet, creating patterns that seemed almost like writing. "It's not just a specimen, Vic. It's intelligent, scared, alone." The creature reached out with one partly healed limb, touching the chamber's wall where Maya's hand rested on the other side. The connection flooded back, stronger this time, images of vast crystalline cities beneath Europa's ice, of devastating destruction, of desperate flight, of loneliness so profound it made Maya's chest ache. "Aurora," she whispered. Victor looked up from his readings. "What?" "Its name, or at least, that's how it translates in my head. It means light dancer in their language." Maya smiled as Aurora's colors shifted to a warm purple. They communicate through light patterns and empathic connection. Their whole civilization was based on shared emotions and memories. Was. Maya's smile faded. Something happened. Something terrible. I think Aurora might be the last of its kind. Before Victor could respond, the station's comm system crackled to life. Commander Patel, please report to communications immediately. Priority message from corporate. Maya's heart sank. Of course, they'd been monitoring the station's power usage. The thermal unit's energy spike would have been impossible to miss. She looked at Aurora, whose light had taken on a worried blue tinge. Stay with it, she told Victor. And Vic, if anyone else tries to come in here. He nodded grimly. I'll tell them the lab's under quarantine. Standard sinological protocol. Maya squared her shoulders and headed for communications, her mind racing. She had no doubt what corporate would want. A unique alien specimen would be worth billions in research contracts alone. But the images Aurora had shared, the emotions they connected through, told a different story. This wasn't just about scientific discovery anymore. As she walked, she felt Aurora's presence in her mind, a gentle glow of trust and gratitude that strengthened her resolve. Whatever corporate had to say, whatever threats or promises they made, Maya knew one thing with absolute certainty: she would protect Aurora, no matter the cost. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing the stern face of director Elena Volkov. Even through the millions of miles of space between them, her disapproval radiated like a physical force. Commander Patel, Volkov's voice was arctic. Would you care to explain why your station is harboring an unregistered sinological entity? Maya stood at attention, her face carefully neutral. The entity was critically wounded, Director. Basic humanitarian protocols. Humanitarian protocols do not apply to non-human life forms, Volkov cut in. You know this. Europa Research Station operates under direct corporate jurisdiction. All discoveries, especially those of potential biological significance, are company property. Maya felt Aurora's presence in her mind, a worried pulse of blue-tinged emotion. The connection between them had grown stronger in the hours since their first contact. Director, this isn't just a biological specimen. We're dealing with an intelligent, sentient being. All the more valuable. Volkov's smile didn't reach her eyes. A corporate transport is already en route. You will prepare the specimen for immediate transfer to our research facilities on Ganymede. With all due respect, this is not a discussion, Commander. The transport will arrive in 48 hours. Prepare the specimen or prepare for immediate termination of your contract. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Maya alone in the dim communications room. She stood there for a long moment, her hands clenched into fists. Through her connection with Aurora, she felt waves of fear and memory. Sterile laboratories, painful tests, the systematic destruction of its people in the name of progress. Back in the medical bay, she found Victor studying Aurora's light patterns with unconcealed fascination. The creature had emerged from the thermal unit, its crystalline form fully healed and glowing with a soft, steady light. Maya, Victor called excitedly, you won't believe what I've discovered. The light patterns, they're not just communication, they're a form of data storage. Aurora's entire species evolved to be living archives. Each individual carries the collective memory of Fair. He stopped, noticing her expression. What happened? Corporate wants Aurora. They're sending a transport. Maya moved to Aurora's side, watching as its colors shifted in response to her proximity. They'll be here in 2 days. Victor's enthusiasm deflated. Well, perhaps it's for the best. The research facilities on Ganymede are better equipped, too. They'll dissect it. Maya's voice was flat. They'll take it apart piece by piece to see how it works. And they won't care that it can feel pain, that it's conscious, that it's probably the last of its kind. Aurora's light pulsed rapidly, projecting images onto the walls, vast underground oceans, crystal spires that sang with light, and then darkness, destruction, a desperate flight to the surface. Maya gasped as the connection deepened, showing her the truth. They weren't just any civilization, she whispered. They were the original inhabitants of Europa. They lived in the subsurface oceans for millions of years, building cities of living crystal, preserving knowledge through their light sharing. She turned to Victor, her eyes wide. The corporate mining operations in the ocean, they're not just destroying the environment, they're destroying what's left of Aurora's home. Victor looked between Maya and Aurora, his scientific detachment warring with his conscience. What are you suggesting? Help us. Maya placed her hand against Aurora's surface, feeling the warm pulse of trust and hope. Help us find a way to the deep ocean outpost. If any of Aurora's people survived, that's where they'll be. Maya, that's insane. The pressure at those depths. We have 2 days before the transport arrives. Maya's voice was steady, but her heart raced. 2 days to either find Aurora's people or figure out another way to save it. I won't let them turn this beautiful, intelligent being into a corporate lab experiment. Aurora's light brightened, patterns swirling across its surface in what Maya had come to recognize as determination. Through their connection, she felt a new emotion, not just trust or gratitude, but something deeper. Love, perhaps, or whatever Aurora's species called a profound bond between two beings who would risk everything for each other. Victor ran a hand through his hair, sighing heavily. The deep ocean suits aren't rated for those depths. And even if they were, corporate monitors all equipment usage. They'll know the moment we try to access them. Maya smiled grimly. Then we'll have to get creative. She turned to Aurora, whose light had taken on a determined golden hue. How good are you at hacking corporate systems? Aurora's response was a dazzling display of shifting patterns that made Victor's scientific equipment go haywire. For the first time since the corporate call, Maya felt hope flutter in her chest. They had 48 hours to pull off the impossible, but as she watched Aurora's light dance across the walls, telling stories of ancient wisdom and untold mysteries waiting in Europa's depths, Maya knew she would move heaven and earth, or in this case, several million tons of ice, to protect the extraordinary being that had trusted her with its life. Red emergency lights bathed the corridor in crimson as Maya sprinted toward the equipment bay, Aurora floating beside her in a graceful dance of light and crystal. The station's alarms howled. Corporate had discovered their plan sooner than expected. They've locked down the primary airlocks. Victor's voice crackled through her comm. Security drones are deploying from Maintenance Hub B. You have maybe 10 minutes before they reach your position. Maya's breath came in sharp bursts as she punched in the override code for the equipment bay. Status on the deep-sea suits. Modified as much as I could. The pressure seals should hold to 20,000 feet, but beyond that, he trailed off. Maya, this is madness. Noted. The equipment bay doors slid open with a hydraulic hiss. Aurora pulsed with urgent patterns of gold and blue, sharing images of hidden thermal vents, ancient pathways through the ice. Aurora knows a way down. We just have to reach it. They had spent the last day and a half preparing, Maya and Victor working frantically to modify the deep-sea exploration suits, while Aurora interfaced with the station's systems, sharing centuries of knowledge about Europa's underwater topography. But someone had noticed the unauthorized equipment access, and now their timeline had collapsed. Maya grabbed the modified suit, her fingers flying over the seals and connections. Through their mental link, Aurora projected anxiety tinged with determination. The creature had grown stronger over the past 2 days, its crystalline form now capable of projecting force fields of pure energy, a revelation that had left Victor speechless and Maya even more certain they were doing the right thing. Drones approaching Sector 7, Victor warned. They're moving faster than expected. Maya sealed the last connection on her suit. Time to go. You should delete the security logs, Vic. Clear any evidence you helped us. Already done. There was a pause. Be careful down there, Maya. The ocean. It's not like anything we've explored before. I know. She smiled sadly, checking her suit's oxygen levels. Thank you for everything. Aurora's light suddenly intensified, and Maya felt a wave of warning through their connection. The security drones had reached their corridor. The metallic whir of their propulsion units echoed through the station's halls. "Ready?" Maya asked, sealing her helmet. Aurora's response was immediate. A shield of crystalline energy expanded around them both just as the first drone rounded the corner. Its stun blast dissipated harmlessly against the barrier. They moved as one, Maya and Aurora, through the emergency airlock at the far end of the equipment bay. The drone's weapons fire created a light show against Aurora's shield, but none penetrated. Maya's hands flew across the airlock controls, initiating the emergency purge sequence. "Maya." Victor's voice was frantic. "Corporate just launched something from the Ganymede station. Some kind of high-speed interceptor. Whatever you're going to do it fast." The airlock cycled open to Europa's frozen surface. Maya activated her suit's magnetic boots as the atmosphere vented explosively, sending the pursuing drones tumbling into space. Aurora's shield held, protecting them both as they stepped out onto the ice. Jupiter loomed above them, its massive form filling half the sky. Somewhere up there, a corporate interceptor was racing toward them, carrying who knew what kind of weapons or capture devices. They had minutes at most. "The thermal vent is 2 kilometers south," Maya said, checking her heads-up display. "If we can reach it." Aurora's warning came a split second before the ice exploded beneath their feet. A massive drilling machine burst through the surface, its corporate logos gleaming in the starlight. Maya caught a glimpse of armed figures in the cockpit before Aurora's shield flared again, deflecting a barrage of capture nets. "Run." Maya activated her suit's emergency thrusters, propelling them across the ice. Aurora kept pace, its light pulsing with effort as it maintained the protective barrier around them. Behind them, the drilling machine gave chase, its treads crushing the ancient ice. Through their connection, Aurora shared glimpses of what awaited them, a hidden entrance to the deep ocean, protected by technology that predated humanity's first steps. If they could reach it, they'd be safe. If they could reach it, they might find Aurora's surviving people. The thermal vent appeared ahead, a dark crack in the ice glowing with geothermal heat from below. Maya's suit's sensors screamed warnings about the temperature differential, about the crushing pressures that awaited them. She ignored them all. "Almost there," she gasped. "Just a little further." The interceptor from Ganymede chose that moment to arrive, its engines howling as it dove from the star-filled sky. Corporate wasn't taking chances anymore. The weapons it carried were definitely not set to stun. Aurora's light blazed like a newborn star. The shield around them transformed, becoming a sphere of pure energy that deflected the interceptor's first volley. Maya felt Aurora's determination, its absolute refusal to be captured, to be studied, to be torn apart in some corporate lab. They reached the vent's edge together, Maya's suit creaking under the intense heat. Below them, the ice gave way to darkness, a passage to the deep ocean and whatever mysteries it held. "Trust me," Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. Aurora's response was a pulse of pure love, a connection deeper than words or light or thought. Together, they stepped off the edge, leaving the corporate forces behind as they plunged into the unknown depths of Europa's ancient ocean. Darkness enveloped them as they descended through Europa's ancient ice. Maya's suit lights seemed feeble against the absolute black of the deep ocean, but Aurora's glow provided a constant, comforting radiance. They had been descending for what felt like hours, the pressure growing with every meter. 15,000 feet, Maya murmured, watching her depth gauge climb. Hull integrity at 70%. She tried to keep the tension from her voice, but Aurora sensed it anyway, responding with soothing pulses of turquoise light. The corporate forces couldn't follow them this deep. Their drilling machines weren't designed for these pressures, and the interceptor had lost them in the thermal vent's steam cloud. But that didn't mean they were safe. At these depths, everything was a potential threat. Aurora suddenly flared brighter, sending out complex patterns of light that seemed to interact with the water itself. Through their connection, Maya felt a surge of recognition of homecoming. This was it, the outer boundary of what had once been Aurora's civilization. "Show me," Maya whispered, extending her hand. Aurora's crystalline surface touched her suit's glove, and the world exploded into memory. She saw them as they had been, the luminous ones, a civilization born in the darkness of Europa's ocean. Their cities were vast networks of living crystal, each structure pulsing with stored knowledge and shared consciousness. They had evolved in these lightless depths, developing their ability to communicate through bioluminescence and emotional resonance. She witnessed their greatest achievements, the mastery of thermal energy, the development of crystalline technology that could withstand crushing pressures, the creation of vast archives of memory and experience that could be shared across generations. And then she saw their fall. The first human mining operations had seemed distant, harmless. But as they expanded, pushing deeper into Europa's ocean, they began to destabilize the delicate thermal vents that powered the luminous one's civilization. The crystal cities began to crack, their stored memories fragmenting. Aurora had been a keeper of memories, one of many tasked with preserving their people's history. When the destruction reached their central archive, the elders made a desperate decision. They encoded their entire civilization's knowledge into Aurora's crystalline matrix and sent it to the surface, hoping to preserve something of their legacy. Maya gasped as the connection broke, tears floating inside her helmet. "You're not just the last survivor," she breathed. "You're their entire history, everything they were, everything they knew." Aurora's light dimmed with sorrow, but there was something else in the connection now, a sense of purpose, of hope. Through their mental link, Maya understood. Aurora hadn't just been preserving history, it had been searching for a way to save its people. A distant rumble shook the water around them. Maya's suit's sensors detected movement, something massive shifting in the depths below. Aurora's light patterns became urgent, excited. "They're still alive?" Maya asked, hardly daring to hope. "Some of your people survived." Aurora's response was a complex series of light pulses that interacted with the surrounding water in ways Maya's instruments couldn't fully process. The rumbling grew stronger, and suddenly the darkness below them was illuminated by a soft, widespread glow. Rising from the depths was a structure that defied comprehension, a city of living crystal, smaller than the ones in Aurora's memories, but intact, protected in a deep trench far below the corporate mining zones. And within it, lights pulsed in patterns that matched Aurora's own. "You found them," Maya whispered. "All this time, you were looking for a safe way to reach them." Aurora's joy radiated through their connection, but there was something else too, a question, an invitation. Through their mental link, Maya understood. The surviving luminous ones had adapted, found ways to protect themselves from the human interference above. But they needed help to ensure their continued survival, to prevent the corporations from pushing even deeper into their realm. They needed an ambassador, someone who could bridge the gap between their world and humanity's, someone who understood both sides. "You want me to stay," Maya realized, her heart racing, "to help protect your people." Aurora's response was a wave of pure emotion, love, trust, hope for the future. The choice was Maya's, but Aurora had already shared enough memories for her to understand what it would mean. The luminous ones could alter her physiology, adapt her body to survive in their realm, make her one of them while keeping her human consciousness intact. The depth gauge on her suit cracked under the pressure, and warning lights began to flash. She had minutes at most before the suit failed completely. It was time to choose: return to the surface and a life of corporate servitude, or take a leap into something entirely new. Maya looked up toward the distant surface, then down at the crystalline city glowing below. She thought of Victor, of Earth, of everything she was leaving behind. Then she looked at Aurora, whose light had become a gentle, questioning pulse. "Yes," she said simply, reaching out to touch Aurora's surface one more time. "Show me the way home." The transformation began as Maya's suit finally gave way to the crushing pressures of Europa's deep ocean. But where there should have been pain, there was only warmth. Aurora's energy enveloping her in a cocoon of crystalline light. Through their connection, Maya felt the changes happening at a cellular level, her body adapting to its new environment. The surviving luminous ones surrounded them, their lights pulsing in an ancient pattern that Maya somehow understood was a song of welcome and rebirth. Her lungs burned briefly as they transformed, learning to extract oxygen from the mineral-rich water. Her skin tingled as it developed the same crystalline properties as Aurora's, becoming both armor and sensor array. But the physical changes were nothing compared to the mental ones. Knowledge flooded her consciousness, millennia of history, science, art, and culture. The true nature of the luminous ones revealed itself, not just survivors, but guardians of Europa's delicate ecosystem. Their cities weren't just habitats, they were regulatory systems, maintaining the moon's thermal balance, preventing the ice shell from crushing the ocean below. A distant boom echoed through the water. Corporate hadn't given up. Their deep-sea mining drones were probing the thermal vent, searching for a way down. But they were too late. Maya was already changing, becoming something they could never capture or understand. "They're still coming," she said, her voice carrying through the water in waves of light rather than sound. The ability to communicate like the luminous ones felt as natural as breathing. Aurora's response was not fear but determination. Together, they approached the edge of the crystal city, where the eldest of the survivors had gathered. Through her new senses, Maya could see the network of energy that connected all of them, a living web of shared consciousness and purpose. The elders' lights pulsed in complex patterns, sharing a plan that had been millennia in the making. The luminous ones had not just been hiding, they had been preparing. Their crystalline technology, refined over eons, could reshape the very structure of Europa's ocean. They could create barriers that no human technology could penetrate, redirect the thermal vents to make certain areas impassable. But they needed Maya, needed her understanding of human technology and tactics to make it work. She was the bridge between worlds they had been waiting for. The corporate drones descended through the thermal vent, their lights cutting through the darkness. Maya felt Aurora's presence strengthen beside her, their energies intertwining. Together, they reached out to the crystal city's central matrix, connecting with the vast network of living crystal that sprawled across Europa's ocean floor. Power surged through the network. Maya's consciousness expanded, touching every crystal, every connection. She saw Europa as the luminous ones saw it, not just an ice moon, but a living system of incredible complexity and beauty. With Aurora's guidance, she helped direct the energy, reshaping the thermal currents, creating a labyrinth that would confound any human attempt to reach these depths. The corporate drone's lights flickered and died as the reshaped currents knocked them off course, crushing them in the intense pressure. Above, the mining operations would find their instruments confused, their probes lost in an ever-shifting maze of heat and cold. But Maya and Aurora weren't finished. Through their shared connection with the crystal matrix, they began to broadcast, not in radio waves or standard transmissions, but in patterns of energy that human instruments would detect as natural phenomena. A warning encoded in the very environment of Europa, telling humanity, this far and no further. Hours later, as the last of the physical transformation completed, Maya floated with Aurora in the heart of the crystal city. Her body now shimmered with its own inner light, patterns of thought and emotion dancing across her crystalline skin. The other luminous ones had accepted her completely, incorporating her memories and experiences into their shared consciousness, while allowing her to maintain her individual identity. "What do we do now?" she asked Aurora, their lights mingling in patterns of blue and gold. Aurora's response came not in words, but in a stream of shared consciousness, images of exploration, of discovering new depths of Europa's ocean, of learning and growing together. The luminous ones had survived by adapting, by finding balance between preservation and progress. With Maya's help, they could do more than survive. They could thrive again. Maya felt Victor's final transmission arriving from the surface station, broadcast on all frequencies. "Whatever you've done down there, it worked. Corporates pulling out, too many equipment losses. They're calling Europa a technical challenge not worth the current investment. Stay safe, Maya. And thank you. She smiled, her new form glowing with contentment. Reaching out, she touched Aurora's crystalline surface, their lights creating patterns that rippled through the crystal city like poetry. She had come to Europa seeking discovery, but had found something far more precious: a new family, a new purpose, and a love that transcended the boundaries of species and space. Together, they turned toward the unexplored depths of that ocean home. Above them, Jupiter's bulk pulled at Europa's ice, keeping the moon's heart liquid and alive. Below them stretched endless possibilities, waiting to be discovered. Maya's light pulsed with joy as she and Aurora led the way into the darkness, no longer afraid of what they might find there. After all, some of the universe's greatest wonders could only be seen by those brave enough to leave the light behind, and fortunate enough to find someone to share the journey with.